ask you about the rain here today. It kind of feels like football weather out there. What do
Hey.
it feel like?
You know, we don't get the opportunity to play in the conditions very often, but, you know, we say the games you remember are the games in November, and so any chance we get when we get wind or rain or elements, you know, I mean, by all means, you got to take advantage of practicing in and winning those situations.
I'm curious, you've been doing this for such a long time. Spring games, right? It's kind of turned into a practice, sort of, right? I mean, how has it changed, the whole spring preview, you know, actual in front of the people in your time, maybe going back to what Pat Hill used to do?
Well, spring games have been a thing of the past for the last 20 years. You know, the fact of the matter is you only get 15 opportunities to go, and, you know, you spend your time developing your football team, and really you're trying to build depth and bring the team along technically and fundamentally, and you really aren't in a position to play a game. And, you know, and the way the depth charts are and those kinds of things, man, if you get to that 15th day, the most important thing is that you have a healthy team going forward. So I understand from a community outreach standpoint and a marketing standpoint that, and our fans and kids, you know, kind of want to see us play and you know, keep the product in front of them, you know, you might say, but not a lot happens on those days. It's just it's a real light practice.
How hard is this week for you to be out here at practice when you know there's a rodeo going on that you'd like to go watch?
Oh, I love rodeo week, let me tell you. No, it's, hey, look, first of all, I love football. I love being out here, and any chance to be out here coaching football is great. But I'll tell you, this town is alive the last weekend of April with the Clovis Rodeo and all that kind of stuff. So, man, to have that going on, plus our spring game, I think there's a lot of fun things for people to do.
You got a new kicker in this year. Can you just tell us a little bit about Menaki and maybe what he's brought to the locker room?
So Menaki is an interesting guy. He was at Ashland College last year, and he's from Michigan. He went to high school in Michigan. His parents are you know, full Japanese, right? His dad works for a Japanese engineering company, I believe. But he was born in the United States, and you know, he was, I think, 20 of 21 last season, which was really good. And the one thing I do know is at least in that phase, I mean, the goalposts are the same everywhere. And so we were fortunate to, number one, identify him, and then number two, have this opportunity make sense. So, and he's not disappointed this spring. He's done very good.
When it comes to the returner side of things and determining guys who are going to be a part of that job, you know, you had Rayshon back there last year, but how much are you balancing that with, obviously there are other workloads and what they're going to be a part of when it comes to those returning opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, you know, spring practice gives us an opportunity to put all the guys out there that we think are viable people. And, you know, returning the ball is a lot more than just catching it, and it starts with just catching it. So some guys are out at just the catch. And then there's, you know, the way you run the ball and how well you set your blocks, and especially in the punt return phase is how well you take care of the team, manage the game. When do you stay away from the ball? When do you aggressively go get it? You know, when do you decoy to try to make the ball bounce in the end zone? And those are all the skills that we work on and those kinds of things. But Jordan Malolu, I don't think has lost his job as the punt returner. He's doing a really good job. Jonathan Darrington, who redshirted last year from Clovis West, has really done a nice job this spring. Speedy Luke is, you know, you'll see him back there. And then there's a whole host of other guys like Cam Cole or Jayon Farrar, you know, and some others that we've looked at. So I think we're progressing well.
Is it a recruiting process for these guys to come on, or are these guys eager to be a part of the special team unit when it's asked? How does that go about every spring when it comes to that?
Well, if you've recruited the right guys, they want the ball. So there's no recruiting process in that at all. In fact, it's a little bit deflating when they don't get the opportunity, you But yeah, no, it's not difficult at all.
Who do you think is stepping up as a special teamer? There's a couple guys where we're stepping into those roles, whether it's those guys on the blocking part of it and where they're stepping in. Who's stepping in the most in those opportunities of understanding what it's needed?
Are you talking about the return side of things? Or
Return
just
side,
general?
plus in general, the guys
Yeah.
who are up on the field blocking as well for those returns.
Yeah. Well, you might or might not know that we do something unique in spring practice. I've been doing it since 2003. So we have what we call Spring Survivor. And so we have 4 tribes out there, all right? We have Havoc, we have Mayhem, we have the Smashies and the Hitchus, okay? Those are their tribes. And they travel as a tribe and they compete as a group. But what that does is that allows us to facilitate a high level of competition. And and then because you have 4 teams, that's all built in there. And then what happens is there's no guesswork when we personnel our teams. The really good players show themselves, and the guys that are not quite ready yet show themselves. And I'd say that we've got more than 24 players right now we could put in a game and win a game with, which is really good. And by the time we roll out, we'll have 44 guys that'll be really good special teams competitors. But the guys like last year, like Titus Kajabi, he's really improved as a player in all areas, including that. A guy like Jaden Carrillo was a special teams player of the year. He's not going to fall back off of what he's done. So, but spring practice is a chance to develop players individually so that we can play as a team in the fall, because there's not a lot of time for individual work in the fall.
Last question for me, Jaden Carrillo, you mentioned him, and obviously his highlight play was that Oregon State game, and we go back to the understanding of the quirks of special teams and what rules are what, and is this part of the year where all that's reinforced as well? Just know when to pick up the ball, know when things are active, and what the play will develop into when it comes to those plays you don't normally run into.
Yeah, we have a phrase that we use every day in our meetings. Is we are technically trained and situation aware. And one thing we spend a lot of time on is the technique that it takes to play in this phase of the game, to be situation aware and understand all the dynamics of a loose ball situation. And we spend a lot of time on the rules, and we take a great pride in the way we train these players, and very seldom do we mess up a situation. And it's a credit to the way we all work together. We all coach this phase together, we all play this phase together, and we really do have a really good kind of team identity around it.
Coach, you've got 2 starting punters on the roster now. Could you clarify what Clayton was going through last year and the dynamic of him returning?
Well, I just say that he had an injury that kept him sidelined the entire year, and I don't really obviously go into specifics of that, but it was physically impossible for him to play. And so thankfully we had developed enough depth that we had Nick Verdugo was able to come in and play really well. He was just a shy under 40-yard net punt, and so now we actually have 2 punters that have started for an entire season. And I think you guys, at least the story's out there that when Clay came here and played at Michigan, the first American football game he'd ever seen, he played in. And that's kind of wild to think that we went to the big house and he played in that game. But so yeah, I think it's good, and they both double as holders, and we have 2 really good long snappers here, and we've seen in the Oregon State Miami of Ohio game what it's like if you don't have a backup one of those. Like I tell them, their whole goal is to never be interviewed, okay? Because if you ever get interviewed, some things have just not gone well, okay? Better to just be taken for granted.
I don't know if we've had a chance to talk to you since that Oregon State game. What was the adjustments like in that game, knowing you could take advantage of some of that?
Well, it was similar. The Miami of Ohio game was the same, similar, but I guess they had lost their snapper the week before with a broken thumb, something like that. And we all go out on the field before the game, and you see us all just stand around, but what most of us do is we got a piece of paper and a pen, and we start checking the roster, and it's like, hey, wait, where's so-and-so? right? And then all of a sudden, you know, you get in the game and you realize, like, uh-oh, they've got this kind of in a bad way. I mean, hey, listen, I wouldn't wish that experience on my worst enemy, okay? I mean, it's a bad situation, and that was a bad situation that got worse. But the fact of the matter is, you know, we just play. And, you know, I really thought, you know, to be honest with you, back to that game, I really thought we would return a kick that day. And we returned a kickoff for a touchdown. It was about as clean as you could block one, and they brought it back. And you know, but I didn't think our left corner would be the guy who returns a kick for a touchdown. I didn't really think that. But then again, you know, that's football. I mean, we're playing a game with 18 to 22-year-old males with a ball that's not round. Okay, so if anybody tells you that they can predict the outcome, don't believe them. Okay.